Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm your host, Eliana Kernodle. A former Buffalo Public Schools principal accused of manipulating grades in the New York district has been chosen to be the keynote speaker at a continuous improvement summit held by the Kentucky Department of Education. Joining me to dig into this is Chalkboard News editor Brendan Clary. Brendan, first, can you just lay out what this summit is?
So it's a professional development summit. It's called the Kentucky Continuous Improvement Summit, and it's a partnership between the Kentucky Department of Education and an accreditation company called Cognia. And so Cognia basically accredits different courseware providers, different kinds of institutions, and it has a hand in, these I think just like improving learning environments, essentially, or accrediting them. And so as far as I can tell, the event is like an opportunity for school leaders to get together and to do some of these different workshops and to go to this keynote event that features Mark Abraham. And so, I believe too that they charge about $185 for early bird registration if you get it before September, and then $260 after. And that's for individuals to attend, but there's also I think an opportunity for vendors to get a booth, and then that comes with its own set of costs. So if you wanted to sell something, so I don't think, none of that is bad or outside of the, sort of ordinary for, different education summits and stuff. I thought it was interesting that was, it's co-sponsored with the Kentucky Department of Education. So I hadn't really seen a lot of that overlap there, where you have like a private company and the state's education agency kind of doing that together. So I think that's maybe the only thing that's maybe a little bit atypical. And just, I may have not been able to see that from other states. Maybe that's a pretty normal thing, to be honest. But, none of this is outside the goal. There's a lot of different kinds of professional development events for staff, at these different schools. And I think that, there are varying qualities of that too. So that's something that I've written about. In Texas, for example, there's nonprofits who will partner with school districts and to say, hey, let's help you lead your school better, and really get to know principals and help them and help their leaders at school districts grow. Because often they point out, teachers are not trained for administrative or management positions necessarily, but then as they're promoted, that's something that they have to do. So it's an interesting kind of thing. There's a lot of different opportunities to do that, but it's not really clear exactly from the event description what that looks like here.
And let's get into the keynote speaker. Who is he and what is his background?
According to an event page and a spokesperson who was directly quoting from that, Dr. Mark Abraham is a transformational leader with a wealth of experience in education. That's what the spokesperson said. And that's also, I think, the exact language that's on the event page. And they say that he's committed to, quote, providing a world-class educational experience that ensures all students achieve their goals of post-secondary college and fulfilling careers. His mission has been to create environments that assist students in reaching their maximum potential in life. So that's directly from the spokesperson. So, he's also written a book. I believe it's called What Success Looks Like. And so, it's just what success looks like, increasing high school graduation rates among males of color. So I think that's pretty illustrative of here's what we're trying to talk about. How do you increase the graduation rates for Black students?
But he has faced some allegations in the past. What were those?
Yeah, so I just, did a kind of a quicker search for Abraham, try to figure out, who he is. And back in 2022, teachers came forward to local news in the Buffalo area. And they basically said they alleged that Abraham pressured them to change grades, and that was in order to raise the graduation rate for the high school. So a former teacher named Don Guile called Abraham's book a scam, and he told that to the local news in 2022. And he said it's a game of perception. Abraham, he goes out there unless people perceive that he was this great administrator. He was awful. So, we have these teachers alleging that Abraham directed them to change student grades in order to basically make his book look a certain way, or make his method look more effective. So I think those are the allegations. And that one teacher, Don Guile, he told local news that another teacher named Eric Crittenden said very similar kind of thing, that Abraham asked him to change student grades, that he got a phone call at the end of the year saying, hey, can you give so-and-so this grade? Can you change it? Can you bump it up? And then they also talked to, other unnamed teachers. So, and so that's some of these allegations that have been levied against him. And I asked Abraham about that. He said, these are all false. And he responded with a document that shows the school's investigation. And that was into a complaint from the union. And it was specifically one complaint that alleged that there was like a scheme to boost graduation rates by enrolling a student in a second backup course. And so the school looked into that and they said they didn't find anything. But these other teachers are basically alleging that there was more like a widespread sort of like an understanding that students would get these grades or that the principal could call up. And in one case, a teacher alleges that if we were giving students 50s, that we were supposed to give them 65. So it's just like these kinds of different things that were maybe not investigated by the school. And I asked the school for clarification. They said they did do that investigation, that they investigated that one allegation and that they didn't find anything. The Kentucky Department of Education reached out to them and they said a very similar thing. They said, we're not aware of any substantive findings or sanctions against Dr. Abraham resulting from the allegations included in our questions. So there are these like just kind of questions out there. And at the end of the day, here's what some teachers said back in 2022. And then, what Dr. Abraham says, that this was like basically a union hit job, that there are people who are unhappy, but, that he denies all of this. And so I think there's like a lot of murkiness, right, in these kinds of questions. And, there's also a lot of murkiness around professional development. Like, will it work? Will it actually have the effect that you want it to in all these other schools? So I think, that kind of is a broader issue as well. Is just like how did these kinds of books, play out in, education more broadly? We have sort of like a cottage industry of people who are saying that this is a very effective method for this, right? Or like, how do you help principals do this? And so there's a lot of these different kinds of opportunities. And so, if these allegations are true, then it would sort of directly undermine some of the claims that Abraham is making. And so that's just sort of the tension that, I think is pretty evident in the story.
Well, Brendan, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at chalkboardnews.com.